Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to another episode of GMAT Success Talks. Today, we're talking to Bulgan, a young and bright MBA applicant from Mongolia who improved his GMAT score from a 665 to a 715, which is a 99.5 percentile just within 3 months. Bulgan's story is incredible. He applied very cool techniques to improve his performance on every section of the GMAT, be it practicing from the GMAT Club app during leisure time, reading the New York Times, Scientific American for 2 hours every day, or converting 6 official mocks into 12. So before we begin the talk, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to support us in bringing you more inspiring stories like Bulgan's. So let's get started. Thank you, Bulgan, so much for doing this, for joining us, and do let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me to share my story taking GMAT, and it's an honor to share what I experienced during the exam and how I prepared. So to give you a little background about myself, I'm Bulgan, I'm 30 years old, and I'm based in Mongolia, and I work in finance. To be specific, I work for the bank called the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development as an associate banker. Before GMAT, the main exam experience I had was I took the CFA back in 2017. So CFA charter holder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is about me.
Thanks a lot for giving us that intro. Of course, I definitely want to dive into your GMAT journey. So as far as I know, you took your first attempt in May 2024, and you scored a 665, sorry. So that's the 95th percentile, 95th. So why did you decide to go for another GMAT attempt despite, having a good score?
So I was initially I was aiming for any score which is higher than 705. And I looked at what I'm aiming is I want to get into the top 10 MBA programs, such as the Harvard or Wharton. So I looked at the class profile, which said I looked at the median GMAT scores, which was around in old GMAT standard at around 740. So to have more advantage, I decided to give it another go. And
Understood.
So that is the reason why I took the second time.
Understood. Okay.
Was that when I took the first one, I felt that I didn't fully perform to my potential, so that I kind of felt if I prepare more and then retake it, I can improve my score. That's how I felt. So that is also why I took it.
Understood. All right, awesome. And I think in your first attempt, the breakdown was that you had 84 in quant, 83 in verbal, and 82 in data insights. So could you talk a little bit about how you prepared for your first attempt?
So taking GMAT was on my mind for quite a long time. I'd say almost 2 years, but I was procrastinating to actually start preparing. I think it was on February, I really decided to dive into GMAT preparation. And I think it was 10th or 8th of February when I took the very first mock exam, which I always thought that I would be okay with GMAT, but I really underestimated it. So when I first took the GMAT mock exam, I got around 605 on the official mock exam. So you can take 2 free mock exams on MBA.com. So I took the first one, and I took 605, and from the breakdown, surprisingly, I took quite a low score on quant section. Also, surprisingly, I performed better than expected on my verbal. And at that time, I didn't know the GMAT was changed into having 3 sections. And when when I first took the mock exam, I thought only the verbal and the quant will be the main section, which translates into a score on a scale of 800. and then
Correct.
the previously integrated reasoning is scored differently.
Yeah.
And then I was shocked that to see the third part, the data insights, and I quite panicked when I looked at it, and I decided to focus more on the data insights later. And then because
Mm-hmm.
quite low score on quant, I was
Correct.
at my high school and the middle school or college, I was always good at math. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew that if I work on my quant, it can be improved in more efficient and the faster way.
Understood. I mean, technically, you would be better at quant, right? Since you took the CFA as well and you have the whole financial background. So you said you actually got a better verbal score. So is it because you prepared more for verbal at the time and you've kind of put
Uh,
quant at the back?
so I think the main reason for that is because I work in finance and I work in banking. I do a lot of reading. I write a lot. So I work in English. So I read
Mm-hmm.
reports, let's say the feasibility studies or the financial statements or the reports by the companies. So I work in English. So I think throughout my working career, my verbal or the overall English improved quite significantly during working.
Mm.
That is one of the factors that impacted how I got the score breakdown that way.
Understood. And for data insights, did you like take special time to prepare or it was like last minute? Since you said like you were not expecting it
Mm.
to be
Yeah,
there.
so for data insights, the data insights has two parts, right? The one is
Mm-hmm.
data sufficiency, which is almost takes almost half of the total questions, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's mostly focused on quant. And sometimes there's the verbal related data sufficiency questions, I suppose, but it's mostly quant. And for the other questions are, let's say, the multi-purpose, the table analysis, and chart interpretation. For those, I think I mostly prepared for them by taking the official mock exams and to
Mm.
myself with the different types of data insights or the charts questions. And as I wrote in my post at GMAT Club, uh, the most challenging or the difficult type of data insights question I find is the anything with maps. I remember that
Mm.
mock exam 4 or 5, there was this very sophisticated map of this resort, and so that the hiking map, so that there are like four friends, and all of them have this different requirements. So let's say two of them will not try any routes that is difficulty level is high, or the two one wants to see them all. So there's like big map, so that if
Mm-hmm.
let's say the Jane wants to do this, which route she should take, which was very confusing. So anything related to
Mm.
the maps was quite difficult for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so after I looked at that, I thought there are very many different types of data insights or the charts questions. There are like bar
Mm-hmm.
charts, the pie charts. So my advice would be to familiarize with yourself with the different types of questions, different types of charts, and to improve the speed of quickly looking at the chart and looking at its axis,
Mm-hmm.
and then what it is saying, so have the general information about the chart itself, and then go on with the question. So I think that is
Understood.
the approach I took.
Understood. Okay. And I think once you had your first attempt in May, you took like a break of 2 months, right? And you resumed your prep again in July 2024. And your quant preparation was mostly from GMAT Club resources. So tell us more about it and which all resources that you used.
So on GMAT Club, I find initially I took the 5 day free trial of target test prep and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
tried to read through the theories. And while I
Mm-hmm.
was doing that, I Googled some specific problem on Google, and then
Mm-hmm.
gave me the the result was by the GMAT Club forum. So when I went into the GMAT forum, the specific problem was explained by the Bunuel. I don't know if you
Ah,
know. He's
he
very good.
is, no one knows who he is, not even
Yeah,
us. But he's
it's
amazing.
he or they maybe. I guess it cannot be a single person because one person cannot spend that much time on quant problems. So it must be team, I suppose. So so there was this explanation by Bunuel. So and then below that explanation, it says there was this link called "Everything You Need for Quant" or the complete guideline for quant something with theories. So I pressed on that. I think in my post I shared my, and it included everything. So starting with the number properties and then algebra, probabilities, the combinatorics, inequalities, absolute numbers.
Mm,
It included all the chapters and what you need to read. So I read all of them, went through each of them. So and then
mm-hmm.
after I read all of them, especially I found the number properties section very how do you say it, informative and new to me because in Mongolian high school we do not learn number properties in that way with the specific the methods how to solve, let's say, certain methods to solve certain problems, which was I find very
Mm,
helpful. And also I spent quite a lot of time on as I said, probabilities and combinatorics, and that was the main, let's say, the Bible in terms of quant section. And after that, I tried to resolve. In that ultimate guide, you have this on the questions side. You have this how do you say, the 7+700 club or something, which includes the questions on that specific topic, which has a difficulty level of 700 or something.
correct. Yeah,
So there's a club. So I tried to solve all that the problems. But one of the issues I find with GMAT Club was that once you do not really know which questions you have taken and which
yeah.
questions are new,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to save the tab or this exactly save the exactly same the page as a bookmark it. That's what I did. And another thing I found very useful was that keeping the error log, especially in
Correct.
quantum. Have this error log. You can, let's say, when you missed on something, you on your note in your mind that I have to be careful on specific cases.
Mm-hmm.
For data sufficiency, Quant one, there's this one specific the trick by GMAT that it looks that the both A or B can independently can reach to the same the solution. But if
Mm-hmm.
you that is sufficient, you don't really calculate it, right? So that if you really dig into that, it turns out that the both the one and two statements are equals. And let's say the second one is the just the two times the what the first one is saying. So in
Mm-hmm.
that case, you cannot calculate.
Mm.
I assume that I use both of them, but since both of them are same, I cannot solve them. So I think something
Mm.
like so that is why I would recommend using the error log, and to the you can I think in GMAT Club you have this error log tool that you just click on it and you select filter that everything you missed. So even though
Correct.
in some cases when I correctly calculated to solve the problem, but to record it on the error log, I sometimes purposely hit the incorrect one to save it on the error log, so that later,
Mm.
a week before exam, I generally go through the error log and to see how to approach each of them. So just to
Correct.
refresh the methods or the, the methods I should use on some specific questions.
Understood. Okay, so this was majorly quant and how and you do not use any other resource other than GMAT Club?
I used, of course. So beside the GMAT Club, one of the things is it's free, right?
Yeah.
So you can subscribe and you can subscribe to the products, but you can use a free version just completely fine, I think.
Correct.
And I feel that I'm endorsing GMAT Club too much, but just as a disclaimer, I'm not getting paid for anything. Or yeah, besides that, I want to say at the GMAT Club, I think it was this summer, uh, there was this very interesting event called the GMAT Olympics,
Yeah, we have
and
that, I think every year.
yeah, I turned out to be in the orange team, which I won. So as a winning team, I got this the 1 month of
GMAT
free
Club
use
tests?
the tests to just to
Tests.
compile them and select
Mm,
this many questions from this topic and then generate the questions. I also used that I found that very
the
useful.
forum quiz.
Yeah, I also want to thank
Hmm.
all the very
New
active Orange
members.
team members to carrying me, and I was very lucky to be in Orange.
One thing that people don't know as well is the fact that A, you can get GMAT Club tests for free, especially during holiday seasons. Like any holiday that is major, we give the test free for the entire day. So that's one way of getting it. But another way of getting it, especially now, is we have this huge event called the MBA Spotlight, where all of these top business schools come together. You get to interact with the school, with upcoming students. And if you just register for the event, just like that, you get the GMAT Club tests free for 1 whole week. So if anyone's watching this and you want GMAT Club tests, just register for the Spotlight event and you're good to go. But yeah, coming back to your, prep journey. So this was Quant, and other than GMAT Club, like you said, there weren't other resources that you used, right? Especially for Quant.
Yeah, so before I started preparing for GMAT, I also ordered I think around 6 or 5 books from on the internet from Amazon. So one of them was
Mm-hmm.
this one, the
Got it.
official
Yeah, the
GMAT
advanced questions.
advanced
Yeah.
questions, and the one of the things I realized was that to have any score which is over 700 or 695 was to be able to solve the difficult questions. So
Correct.
beside that, beside working on GMAT Club, I worked on the advanced, the hard difficulty questions. Really focused on doing, let's say, on the GMAT Club, let's say filter the plus 800 plus this advanced
Mm-hmm.
questions, and also solve all the problems by this the GMAT official advanced questions.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome.
these two were the main, uh,
Resources that you use.
also
Awesome,
the
awesome.
official GMAT mocks. After I took them each mocks, I go through each of the quant questions to see to have a how did I solve it, what methods should be used to be
Correct.
as much as possible. So that's what I did.
Correct. Awesome. So this was quant, and I'm sure verbal, I don't know if the strategy was a little different. I did see in the debrief that you mentioned that you read a lot of different things to help with reading comprehension. But before we go to that, let's talk a little bit about critical reasoning. So is there any specific strategy that you used for that part?
Yeah, I would say on critical reasoning, when I first took it, what I did was I was just spamming questions, just practicing,
Mm-hmm.
practicing, practicing, doing a whole lot of just practice questions. I didn't really worked on what I missed. Didn't really worked on what the question was, what was the premise, what was the conclusion, the main point of the
Mm-hmm.
question. So the different approach I took when I second time took it second time was that I looked at also one of the books I bought was this the GMAT Power
Power
Score
score. Oh,
Critical
the
Reasoning Bible.
best.
So I read it so that the one of the advices I took is that initially do not time yourself when you're taking the critical reasoning, just to without any
Mm-hmm.
timing, without any rush, just to understand the what the statement is really saying, what the conclusion is, what is the premise, what is the counter argument, and what is the background information. So I found it very useful to break down to initially, let's say during the practice, to break down the statement, and then what is the conclusion, what is the background, what is the premise. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do that quite many times, you start to do it unconsciously, like uh, for specific reasons, let's say to weaken questions or to strengthen. Many of the questions mostly focus on the conclusion. It should
Correct.
weaken the conclusion or to support the conclusion. If I find that in critical reasoning, there it usually always comes down to two answer choices, which are very the one is really tricky. So both can it looks both can be correct in some way, but if you start practicing them, you see that notice that the difference is usually in the words like rarely, always, you.
Mm-hmm.
So so my advice would be first, when you're practicing, do not time yourself, just to focus on the what really it is saying. And
Correct.
also, what I did was from the GMAT, the Power Score GMAT Bible. It says there are three types of questions. Like I have it here. Like can you see?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one would be first question types is the proving, which falls into the must be true, main point, method of reasoning, flaw in the reasoning, parallel reasoning. So in those kind of questions, you take the accept the stimuli as a fact and then attack
Mm-hmm.
the answer choices. On the other hand, the helping is like assumption, strength and support, resolve the paradox. So those are mainly the flow is from the answer choices. You take the answer choices as a fact. So those ones, let's say, the impact the stimulus itself. The flow is
Mm-hmm.
opposite direction. So the other one is a hurt, the weaken one. So to categorizing the questions and the recognizing, starting practicing to recognize the question type and in which question types what you should look for, to have that in mind was very useful for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think those are the approaches I took.
I mean, it actually takes me back to the my GMAT days. I kind of feel like I forgot all of this, whatever you just mentioned. But for those watching, I feel like this is incredibly insightful. Are these your notes, by the way, what you just showed? You would write everything down on a piece of paper?
No, I do not really write a lot, but I just to only a few things I find very, let's say, useful and to
Mm-hmm.
remember later words. Because let's say for the categorization of the questions is quite important to me, so that every time I have this critical reasoning question, I so what I did was I categorized what type of question it is, and then remind myself if it is this type of question, so I have to first I have to look for the conclusion and the premise, and it should if it is the weaken them, we should weaken the premise or approaches like that. And also
Mm.
fallout on the verbal one. I think I find the Buñuel is the expert on the quant, and the Marty Murray is quite an expert on the critical reasoning part of the GMAT Club. He usually posts or the replies to the posts that is on the critical reasoning or the reading comprehension. So whenever
Mm-hmm.
explanation by him, I just look at the main question itself and try to do it myself. And after that, I
Mm.
quickly read. So Martin Murray's posts that why the A is not correct, why the B is not correct, why the C,
Mm.
let's say, keep it in the back of my head and then keep going. And then at the end of the day, the C is correct one, or I read the
Correct.
explanations by him. So I find that also very useful while working on it on my phone during my lunch or.
Mm. That's an interesting way. I actually, that's a good tip. Basically, follow the experts and see the kind of questions they have solved or given explanations to, and just keep checking to and from. Nice one. So that was critical reasoning. And for reading comprehension, you've basically adopted this habit of reading the Financial Times, the New York Times, and Scientific American for 2 hours every day. I mean, 2 hours every day. How did you take out separate time for that? And two, like, of course, just by reading, I'm sure you cannot solve reading comprehension. So is there anything else that you did to help with your prep?
Yeah, so just to give you just a note on that, Uh, the one of the reasons why I read is for GMAT, of course, but it was not the sole reason because since I work
Mm,
in finance, I would like to follow what is going on with the, let's say, the commodity, what is going on with the geopolitics, what is going on with Ukraine,
mm,
Russia, Israel, around generally what is happening around the world. So
correct.
I find the topics very interesting, so I closely follow them. And
Mm,
I try to just to wake up a bit early and then get to work a bit earlier, and then just with my morning coffee or with my morning tea, I try to just read and follow up what is going on with the world. I start with the Financial Times because I find
mm-hmm,
Financial Times articles quite short but on point. So I read Financial Times first, what is going on, and read it first, and then I move on to New York Times. And on New York
mm,
Times, I quite interested in, let's say, not those stories covered by in Financial Times. Also, I really like the opinion section of New York Times. So just to not as a fact to read the opinions of these experts or the independent experts on such the topics as let's say the U.S. presidential election or
mm-hmm,
going on with the cacao market, something like that, or the Nvidia, the chip. So
correct.
Ministers, I read them. I also like to read the Well section called Well in New York Times, which mostly includes the articles like, is apple cider vinegar really that magical potion or something? And what to apply, let's say, the sunscreen during this peak summer days, mostly the advices, like health advices, which should be the
Mm-hmm,
exercises we hate, but we must do, something like that. I read kind of those kind of thing on New York Times as well.
mm,
Uh, for Scientific American, the Scientific American was the only website that I read solely for the reading comprehension of GMAT. Even though I find it
mm,
super interesting articles, let's say on the sciences, what is going on with
correct.
the meteor, the black holes. I personally find Scientific American articles are very similar to the reading comprehension, let's say the scientific or the reading comprehension the articles on GMAT. So that is the reason I want to practice just to have one of the difficulties I used to have was I read quite slow in the first take. So it takes quite a lot of time. So I sometimes I have to reread it, read the article twice, the passage twice,
Mm-hmm,
which wastes a lot of time. So to improve my just to improve my speed and also the comprehension, I developed this habit since I think the beginning of year. I put it in my New Year resolution that I'll read and the follow up with what's going on with the news. So
mm.
I followed
That's a
that.
nice, yeah, that's a nice strategy. And I'm sure that that helped you like assess the passage quickly and like understand it quickly so that you're able to solve it as well. But
Just
I mean, that was more of the reading habit that you created. But what about like covering the basics and actually understanding how to solve? Did you do that from GMAT Club by like practicing questions or you used some other resource?
yeah, I think what I did was I didn't really practice on, let's say, the separating out the conclusion of the article. I mostly did that
Mm-hmm.
by working on the mock exams, the official mock exams. So when you read and when you understand the passage itself very well, so the when you understand the passage very well, uh, the answer in the questions is the more I'd say easier part.
Yeah.
And there's another habit I took, but I I rarely, not rarely, I sometimes do that, but I try to do that. I try to replace, when I go to bed, I used to scroll a lot through, let's say, the Instagram Reels or the YouTube Shorts or just
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. And
That's me.
I wanted to replace that. Instead of just scrolling, I bought the Kindle Paperlight with
Mm.
built-in light. So just
Mm-hmm.
to instead of scrolling, I also wanted to just have this habit, still trying that, just to have this habit of reading at least for 30 minutes before
Going to
go
bed.
sleeping. So just 30 minutes or sometimes 45 minutes. And then just when you start getting sleepy, you just close the Kindle and just sleep, right?
Go to sleep. Yeah.
Other than
That
that,
that's a very good habit.
yeah, other than that, when I used to read from paperback or hardcover, when you finish reading, when you're feeling sleepy, but you have to get up or like turn off the light, then on the process,
Mm-hmm.
your sleepiness is gone and you just feel awake again. So I place them with
Correct.
people, but still I trying to develop that. I still watch a lot of YouTube or the scrolls or the watch a lot of let's say follow.
It's hard, leaving that. I mean, I am a culprit of watching too many Instagram reels before going to bed. I fall asleep quicker doing that than reading a book, surprisingly. But no, it's a really good habit, and it's also a really good tip. Basically, try to read as much as possible throughout the day, and that will sort of keep your head sharp, especially when you're solving these verbal questions.
Especially for I I studied in Mongolia, and the most of my school, everything was in Mongolian, so the English is my second language. So
Mm,
initially I didn't really find reading in English very natural. But
correct.
after just reading and reading, I got used to it, getting better to it.
And that's how you aced it. That's awesome. Now let's go to the data insights. So I think that you said, right, data insights was the toughest part for you, especially since it was very new. And I think you started data insights prep back when the focus edition just started. So there was not that many materials,
Oh.
to prepare with. So how did you start your whole preparation journey for that particular section?
Mm. Yeah, before jumping into the data sets, I just want to note that I find the official mock exams as a very the crucial and the precious sources because
Mm,
many exact official questions available. So if you just spamming without analyzing the questions, if you're just spamming the questions, you will run out of the official questions, which is not a great thing to do. And about the mock
mm,
exam, I think you can take each of them twice without any questions repeating. And
mhm,
uh, I would advise to let's say first take the two free ones twice each of them, but also the same save, let's say one or two in the later stage of the preparation, let's say a week before the actual exam. And there also there's this one you can take one free mock exam from TTP, the Target Test
mhm.
Prep. Also one free mock from the GMAT Club.
Correct.
And those are the, I think there is this, if you search, there's this a list of all the free mocks you can take on GMAT Club. There's this post like
Mhm,
that, I remember. And yeah, now moving back to the data insights, even though the data insight section is quite new, starting from the GMAT focus, but I think it was still there. Some of the questions were still there when it was called the integrated reasoning. So what
mhm.
happened? I think they just combined the integrated reasoning section with the data sufficiency section from the Quant, and
Correct.
they combined them and they renamed it as data insights. So you can look at the integrated reasoning practice questions if you really run out of, let's say, the official questions. But let's say I took all the six mock exams twice. So in total, it'll be 12 mock exams for each 12 of them. Let's say multiply them by at least like 8 or 10 data science question, excluding
Mhm,
data sufficiency. So it is 120 questions, I think, which is
mm,
quite sufficient for preparation. And
mhm.
overall, for the, I think data science has four three parts. The one is the table analysis. I really like the table analysis because I find it the easiest one. Table
Mm-hmm.
and two parts analysis and the chart one and the multi-purpose, multi-source question.
Source reasoning, yeah.
Multi-source reasoning. I think the multi-source reasoning is quite similar to the reading comprehension question. It
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
take quite some time, let's say 3 to 3.5 minutes to just to go over the all the questions you have,
Mm-hmm.
then spend less time on the answers itself. So what I
Mm,
really helpful was to quickly look at the question, and it on the question side it all usually says guides you that from the tab, from the data tab, or the from the this tab, use this tab. It usually refers to the tab or the information you need to answer that question. Sometimes it links two tabs based on this tab and also comparing with the information given in the background tab, answer da 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 da. So
mm,
you used to quickly look at the reference of those the tabs, and then move on to the what the information was given, and
understand.
those the tabs which I will use for the question. I give a specific detailed attention to it, what I want to do, what it is given, and then move on to answering questions. And for the
Mm,
I really prayed that I think for GMAT there will be one or two multi-source reasoning. So because each of them have I think three questions. So if you include two, there will be six. So I really prayed I would get only one because I used to spend a lot of time with multi-source reasoning,
mm-hmm.
and yeah. So all for about table analysis, what I would recommend is get familiarized and have this habit of quickly filtering the table. So because of filtering
Mm,
data analysis, they usually ask a correlation. If I think the mostly it will be only around two types of questions for the table analysis. The one is if this one is correlated with this one, yes or no. This one is correlated with this one, yes or no. Or
mm,
any of the people with let's say the age above 30 is also this, or like at least four people who are under 20 is has, let's say, blue hat or something. You just check it, you just
mm,
age part, and then just count how many people are there who are over 30 or over certain category, and then check the other side. I think the table analysis is quite uh, good for that one. And also,
mm-hmm.
one thing I find is on the table part, if it is, there's a very looks like a little slightly correlated, it is correlated because sometimes you
Okay.
see that it is not perfectly directly positively correlated, but if it has some correlation, and I checked it on Excel as well. I checked the
Mm-hmm.
correlation and the answer, there was two data tables, datas, and the correct answer was yes, they are positively correlated. When I actually inserted
Mm,
Excel and then calculated the correlation was positive, but only 4%, like 0.04. So
oh,
very small
interesting.
positive correlation, but the answer was it is positive correlated.
Mm,
Even though it is a very small correlation, the answer should be yes.
understood, understood. But majorly though, it was GMAT Club resources and so you said that mock test and the GMAT Club resources were the major way that you prepared for data insights.
I think for the data insights, I mostly used just the mock.
Mock tests. Okay.
I couldn't find the data insights, but I was planning to use the sources for the data insights in GMAT Club, but uh, at the end of the preparation, I ran out of time, and
Mm,
I couldn't really. managed to dig into the data insights of GMAT Club.
Understood, understood.
But for the data
Um,
science, I really prepared a lot from the GMAT Club.
Understood. So in total, actually, you've technically used, you made optimal use of the GMAT Club resources in your preparation. So do you have any advice to new test takers with respect to how to best utilize GMAT Club resources?
Uh, so for that one, I would say first utilize the free mock exam,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, use as I said, the ultimate guide to Quant, and then filter and do as many as possible the questions you like. Yeah,
Correct. And the error log.
and
And
there
of
are
course,
other
the
questions.
free events and many other things that we do literally every other week. So basically, you've got to keep up with the forum. Just always have your eye on like the events section, and you'll see something or the other happening, with GMAT Club. So that was, of course, a complete like overview of your entire prep journey, especially for each sections. Let's now talk a little bit about the big day. So walk us through, how your exam went, before the exam, reaching the test center, the whole administrative process and starting, and of course, what section order you took.
Mm. Yeah, about the I'll start with the section order. So
Mm-hmm.
I I decided on my section order quite a long time ago. I think it was by the time I took my first attempt. So what I did was, since I'm not a native English speaker and English as my second language, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think I always needed to warm up my reading. So I first started with the most comfortable section for me, which is a quant section. So I
Mm-hmm.
started with quant, and then after I build the confidence, and then after completing the quant, I feel much more calmer and ready for the other sections. So then the second I took data insights, because the data insights has also quite similar has similar components to quant,
Mm-hmm.
data sufficiency. So since I've worked on the quant, I then move on to the data insights, working on the data sufficiencies and all, going through the charts. By going through the charts, uh, by doing the data insights, I tried to warm up my reading and to warm up my English, just my reading
Mm-hmm.
for the verbal, which I took in the very last. And before middle between the data insights and verbal, I took 10 minutes of break.
Break.
On
Understood.
about the test day experience, it was I personally prefer to take it at the test center instead of online, because
Mm-hmm.
I I heard from my friend that when you're taking it at home as an online, it's much more controlled. That they ask you to keep focusing on the let's say, do not overly look down, or because
Mm.
I was quite afraid that it would be more destructive. And since I have a cat, she sometimes from time to time just walks across the table, so I didn't want any anything like that.
Yeah.
And so that is the reason why I decided to take it in the test center. And
Mm.
I was in my first attempt, I was reading, let's say, more of a motivational song on the way. But in my second one, what was different was I tried to be as calm as possible. So I listened to some calming music on the way, and before I begin,
Mm-hmm.
tried to just to have a deep breath, just to practice focusing on the breath, breathing to calm myself and to perform my best. So I think that one really worked. I was very calm. I find when I start to panic, my performance just shoots downfall, especially during the verbal
Mm.
fights. For quant, since I'm quite comfortable with that, even though I panic, I for quant I usually have around 15 to 12 minutes of spare time after finishing all the questions. So
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes, I go back to each questions and review them and revise them if necessary. So for
Mm-hmm.
I tried not to panic. There were some incidences that and verbal and data sites that I consciously or wanted to check. Let's say look at the. I have this habit of looking at the time left and then try to calculate how many questions are left and then divide the remaining time by the remaining questions to have the sense of how many minutes per question I have left. So I really tried not to do that in my second attempt, just to focus on what was in front of me. And there were some times that I'm looking at okay, now I have 5 questions left, and thoughts, random thoughts like that were kept appearing, but I really tried hard to just to focus on what the passage was saying or what the question was saying. So I focused on that, and I was quite calm and okay. The flow was good, and I tried to just focusing on what was in front of me throughout the test. And then one good thing was after I think it was like I kind of have left 12 seconds left, and I decided to should I review another question or just put end
Mm.
button. So I decided to end section, and then I just waited for the result, and it appeared at 7:15, and I was very happy. I almost shouted in the test center, but it was not out. And
So you must have thought at that point, okay, now I'm done. No third attempt. This is it.
yeah, that was the
But
best
that,
part. Uh,
yeah, so that means you initially started for 3 months, you prepared, got the first score, and then prepared another 3 months. Oh, was that the case?
yeah, I started preparing from February when I took the
Till
really
May.
big mock, and then from February to May, I prepared 3 months, and then after
Two
May,
months break.
yeah, I wanted to, let's say, just rest for a week, but the week
Mm.
turned out to be 2 months. I was
That
initially planning to
happens.
just rest for a week, and then after a week, I just start preparing again. But after a week, I just took another week, and then another week. I started this watching series, just kept
Just
relaxing.
like give yourself that, okay, I'm done, but then, oh shoot, I have to do this again.
Then I think I realized that I just did nothing for 2 months, and then I decided to just to register for the GMAT, and then I registered for
Okay.
10th of October. Then after I paid the money, after I registered, then I think I started to really preparing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, there's definitely this incredible point that a lot of students that we've debriefed, they've always said this, that it's better that you pay for the test, choose a date, because that will force you to study. But if you study without a date, then you might just keep dragging it to the point that, you might take more time to finish your preparation. And especially after your first attempt, it is always recommended to try to give the test maybe 2 or 3 weeks
Mm,
after your first attempt, because you still have that fresh mindset, you remember everything. But I think
yeah.
that 2 months break sort of hindered your whole uh, prep journey, and you had to do it all over again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it really hindered because when I first took it, I really didn't study any theory or
Ah,
read, let's say, the theories or number properties, etc. I
mm-hmm.
didn't look into the formulas and really didn't study. What I really did was just to spamming the practice questions for the first one.
Understood.
So then I thought when I preparing for the second time, I wanted to take a different approach that instead of just spamming questions, if I spam it again, I'll probably get a similar result to my first one. So I decided to just start with the fundamentals, fundamentally refreshing, learning
Mm-hmm.
uh, to know the theories. What should I do for the critical reasoning? For let's say example, started reading the Power Source Critical Reasoning
Power
Bible,
score, yeah.
and then instead of just practicing doing the different types of practices like underlining the conclusion of the premise.
Correct.
Such practices really helped me, and also the theories, refreshing all the theories of the quant really helped me, because I would say the GMAT quant really doesn't cover that huge areas of topics. So it is completely readable and practicable in 1 month, I would say. All the quant theories or the formulas appear in the quant section is generally
Mm.
8 to 10 subjects.
Understood, understood. But I mean, overall, great score. Like, of course, an amazing prep journey. A lot of insightful tips that you've suggested here for the audience to take inspiration from. And of course, you're done now. No more GMAT exam. I don't think in the near future. And I don't know if you want to talk about like what's next after this. Where you're planning to apply. I mean, is that something you'd like to share with the audience, or maybe we'll do another debrief of you joining the school in the near
I
future?
I really wish that happens. I hope for that. And if I
Yeah.
get into my dream school, I'll probably happy to do another debrief of how I prepared for my essay, what I did. So those the application and the recommendations, asking for my recommendation from my boss is in front of me. So I really try not to calm or losing myself now. So because still
Mm,
the many things are ahead of me. So
correct.
after taking GMAT in 48 hours, you're allowed to send to 5 schools your scores for free. So
Mm-hmm.
I used that opportunity to send it to my several the dream schools, including I've sent my score to Harvard and Stanford and Wharton
Ooh, nice,
and
nice, nice, nice,
and the other two are Columbia and the MIT Sloan. So those
nice.
far five I've spent my scores so far, and also I'll also include. I'm thinking of including other schools. I'm currently reading the MBA programs by different schools, and they're reading a lot of YouTube and reading a lot of posts on Reddit MBA, and I'm
Mm,
also thinking of diving into GMAT Club's the MBA forum, graduating from
and before, yeah.
the MBA one now. So I'm
Mm.
trying to so looking at into the essays, what I should write, just reflecting on myself, reflecting on my
Correct.
uh, career, what I want to do at the MBA, what I
Yeah.
want to learn, what I achieved in the last few several years. So I'm mostly in the reflecting stage now, I would say.
Mm. And
And
especially so if you've not decided, for example, which all schools you really want to go to yet.
Mhm.
Like I said, we have this fair on 13th and 14th November, sorry, where all of these top business schools, most of them like even separate from the T15, that will come together. You will get to understand the program. You can also win a lot of things just by joining the fair. So that's I feel like for a candidate like you is a perfect fair to join. It's completely free. But of course, like you said, the MBA forum has so many resources. Just like our GMAT forum, the MBA forum separately has a lot of resources. And hey, if you want, you can always join one of my Instagram live sessions. I'm always live with some or the other consultant where we answer questions for free, literally.
Mm.
So feel free to follow us there as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Bulgan. This was amazing. And I hope, again, that people take inspiration from this GMAT journey. So thanks again. And yeah, take care.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and it's been an honor. And I used to read a lot of debriefs on GMAT and how people prepared, and it's quite surreal. And I'm very happy that I also get to share. And after receiving my results, and I want to wish everyone who are preparing for GMAT to get their desired score,
Dream
and
score.
just keep working hard, everyone. So, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.